Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today it is Tuesday. I almost never, ever record on Tuesdays, but today I'm recording on Tuesday because I was at Rhinebeck and it was overwhelming and a lot of things happened. It was amazing. So I didn't have time yesterday because I was spinning. I think I was just like, I was gonna get up tomorrow morning and do it, but I was like, nope, just kidding, I'm not doing that. So here I am, Tuesday morning, gonna go to work, splice this stuff together. I don't think I'm gonna need to do any splicing because there's just probably gonna be one take, but I'm gonna put some edits in, do my show notes. It's like 6:30 in the morning, in case you're wondering. It does take a minute, and try to have this up, at least by midday. But yeah, I just got back from Rhinebeck on Sunday and it was intense and amazing and very overwhelming, but in a good way. I am pretty social. I'm definitely like on the introvert scale, but pretty social for the most part. And, I do well with social situations. Sorry, I'm like doing something with my hands right now that's probably not super conducive to this because I'm trying not to show it. And I'm just talking about this. But I like being social. But yeah, by Sunday I was, Nitin and I were driving home and I was just like, oh my God, I need to be silent at home right now. And I can't wait to get back, which was fine. It happened eventually. So anyway, okay, I've done my task. Now my hands can be still, except my hands are never still. That's the problem. I should be knitting under the table during this, but that would be rude because then I would be focused on that and not on this video, which is why I move my hands so much, I think. I'm also not centered here. Let me just do that. Okay, so Rhinebeck was great. I don't think I took any footage. I tried to take footage of us driving there and then I realized that it was just like 2 photos instead of me starting and stopping a video, which is just like classic Emma. Yeah. Oh, I'm wearing my classic sweater by Espostrico. I think I wore it kind of recently on one of these. It's very cozy. It's knitted in wool and mohair. There's a video on it that it's linked in the show notes for you if you'd like to watch it. The mohair is Biche Bouche Le Petit silk and mohair, and the main color is, Madeline Tosh Merino Light and Penumbra. I don't know what the colorway of the Biche Bouche was. It's like dark burgundy gray or something. It's a burgundy color and it looks great. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we left on Thursday. Nitin and I went to Rhinebeck. We left on Thursday. Like in the middle of the afternoon. I went to Woollen Folk on Friday. I went to Rhinebeck on Saturday. Nitin came to Rhinebeck with me on Saturday, and then we drove home on Sunday. So that was, it was a quick and easy trip. Although we were staying like almost 2 hours away from Kingston. And I was like, next year I'm staying half an hour away max because that's so much driving, like back and forth because I went twice. So anyway, but it was fine. Managed it. My car is a workhorse, even though the air conditioning is broken, but didn't really need the air conditioning because it was pretty chilly. The only time we really needed it was like on the way back on Sunday when it was sunny. I opened the sunroof. It's kind of loud, but it's like better than having the windows open when you're on the highway. So anyway, I bought only fiber at Rhinebeck. I also bought a wheel. So I bought a matchless from somebody who was very nice and she was selling a bunch of her wheels. I'll put a picture of it. I'll try to put a picture of it here. There is a picture of me holding it. It was on my Instagram stories. It's not on my Instagram. So I'm going to put it here in case you don't follow me on Instagram or you don't have Instagram or you don't watch stories on Instagram. I got this matchless that is not new, but it is in perfect condition. It is kind of cool because it's apparently this is like normal for the matchless. Like it's only kind of recently, and I don't know how recently. So if you know, please comment. Kind of recently that they've actually put 2 treadles on the matchless. It's double drive. I mean, you can do Scotch tension. You can do, I think, bobbin lead. You can do single or double drive. You can do like everything on the matchless. That's why it's called a matchless apparently. But it just has one big treadle that you put both your feet on. And apparently that was like how they made them for ages. So I don't know how old this wheel is. The person who sold it to me says she's been spinning for like 30 years, maybe more than that. maybe she said 45 years. And she says, I still love spinning, but I only spin on my Lendrum now, which is, if you don't know, a Canadian made type of wheel. And so she was just selling all of her other wheels. And so obviously it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't like, you know, what the matchless costs now new. So I was like, it's in perfect condition. You know, it's easy to repair if it needs repairs. It shouldn't, but it's beautiful. It works great. So I got that. And the only thing that's like a small issue is the drive band, because it was just kind of old. So I need to, and then we put a new one on it, but then it like, I think it like was tangled around itself. So then like I was changing the bobbin. It took me a minute to figure out how to do that. I thought that I was going to break it, but I think it just needs oil. Anyway, and then it like became way too loose. So I'm just going to I have to go to the hardware store later. So I'm just going to get some cotton thread and make a new drive band. This is my first time using a cotton drive band. I was like, I'm just going to get an elastic one. And then I was like, no, I don't think I should do that. I think you have to use, or you should use. I don't know enough about spinning to be like, I'm just going to get this elastic one and it's going to be fine. So I'm just going to get another cotton one because you can just make those. It's really easy. So I'm just going to get some thread. What I just don't know is how to set it up for Scotch tension. So probably there's a video on YouTube on that. And if not, I'm sure Shacked has some kind of manual that will tell me. I know you can get like the drive band for the Scotch tension, which has like a spring that comes with it. But yeah, I am still using the other wheel, which I've decided to call Gertrude, the older wheel that maybe not an older wheel. The wheel that I was using, which my friend Monica's dad made. Yeah, that one, I named it Gertrude. I don't know if it already has a name, but I decided to call it Gertrude. And I'm still using that actually because it doesn't have a tension knob and it has super low tension. And so if you're spinning roving, that's like really, really thin pencil roving and it like tends to break easily and needs a lot of twist, that wheel is better for me right now. Like I know you can adjust the tension on a matchless, but I have, you know, done that a lot, but I've been just kind of like enjoying going back to that wheel, which is a lot simpler for me. It's really easy to take the bobbin on and off, and the orifice is a little bit bigger. So, you know, it's familiar to me in that way. But yeah, so that was really fun. And I got a lot of fiber at Rhinebeck. I didn't get any yarn, which is kind of insane, but I am proud of myself. So at Wool & Folk and at Rhinebeck, I just bought fiber and I'm going to show you a bunch of it. But the first thing I'm going to show you is this finished cowl, which is like seriously glowing. There's just one end poking out. Look at that. Wow. That's really, I think it's because it's blowing out, but it totally glows. This is the hand spun that I made. I don't think I'd plied it when I was showing it. So this was on the bobbins last week. That's the red and orange yarns. If you want to see it up close to get a better sense of this. Yeah, the inside is, I held a Surrey alpaca strand and like a silk Surrey alpaca strand with a strand of sock yarn to just make a super cozy inside. So if you have never seen this type of cowl, I would look up the Snuggle is Real by Maxim Cyr. This is that type of cowl, but it's a lot slouchier. This is like this is gonna stay up on your neck. It's, as you can see, it's kind of tight. I might put it on, but it would wreck my hair, so maybe I won't. I made this for Monica as a thank you for letting me be the steward of this wheel for a while. And because she's my best friend and she gets really cold. So I thought I would make her something cozy. Oh, that's nice. It's a nice effect. So this is not blocked yet. Oh, and several people have asked me this. Several people have said to me, hey, would you mind showing us the jog in your Fair Isle knitting? Because, you know, I don't know if it's because they can't see a jog and, you know, or a lot of people get self-conscious about the jog in colorwork. I know that there are ways to avoid it, like that are like fancy and have to do with slipping stitches and that kind of thing. I don't know if it super works in colorwork. I don't do any of those things. The jog in this is right here. As you can see, there's just a jog. That's fine. I think the most helpful thing you can do for yourself is to put it in the most unobtrusive place possible. So here, the center of something is just kind of less obtrusive, because if it were in the middle of like one of these things, you'd see a shift there, and it's just one stitch. So as long as you're pulling that yarn tightly, especially if you're changing colors a lot, like it would in like normal Fair Isle knitting, or real Fair Isle knitting, you know, you're gonna see the jog. Just make sure to pull that tight when you're weaving in the ends. Even if it looks kind of loose and messy while you're knitting, pull it tight before you weave in the ends, like while you're weaving. Don't pull it so tight that the yarn breaks, especially with Shetland yarn. That yarn can break really easily. It's fine. It's woolen spun, so it's not quite as tough and strong as worsted spun. So be careful. Don't pull too hard. But you can even knot the ends inside and then weave the ends in, which sometimes people do. But like when you're weaving in the end, you know, when you change colors a lot in Shetland knitting, you notice that there's kind of like gaps and holes. So you want to weave in, so you pull, and then you want to weave in the direction where you're going over the hole, so that those gaps close up, and are, you know, you're not getting all like down the side, you know, of your sweater. There's not all these like air pockets. First of all, it's going to make the sweater less structurally sound, and it's going to be cold. So definitely be careful to close those gaps by weaving in your ends. So weave them in the opposite direction, you know, over the gaps, I guess. Like, yeah, sorry, that's kind of hard to explain, but someday maybe I'll do a tutorial where I take that and do a front, you know, camera like this and show you how to weave in the ends. This is obviously not like a big Fair Isle project that I'm showing you here, that I just showed you the jog of, but I can, next time I've got one, I'll just show you what it looks like on a hat or a sweater. There's a jog, it's unavoidable. What I would say, again, put it in an unobtrusive place. So like if it's a sweater and it's like a pullover, I put it down the side. If it's a cardigan or something that's steeked, easy. You just put it in the middle of the steek bridge. That's where you put your jog, so you don't see it at all. If it's a hat, I don't know, I just try to turn the jog to the back. Yeah, mittens generally, unless it's an all over pattern, mittens I generally just, it's like down the side, but you tend not to be able to see it because oftentimes mittens or mitts are like the pattern's broken up anyway. So yeah. Anyway, okay. Excuse me. If you want to recreate something like this is the Foolish Nude pattern, which you can buy. It's by Donna Smith. I will link the Foolish Nude in the show notes. I cast on the number of stitches she asked for, which I think was 96, because I think this is a 24 stitch repeat. The Foolish Nude is not a cowl like this. It is a like skinny, long cowl in the round with Shetland wool that you knit really long and then you wrap around your neck twice. If you have seen the tapestry cowl from the Woolly Thistle, it's kind of like that. It goes twice around. Tapestry cowl is thicker, and it's like, you know, kind of big and cozy. I'll link that in the show notes too. The tapestry cowl is an amazing thing to place to start color work, just because you get a lot of practice. You can play with color a lot, and there's no shaping. It's just a tube that you knit, a long tube that you knit in the round, and then you just graft it together the way you want. So you can just sew it together. I actually just sewed this one down because I didn't do a provisional cast on. So I just stitched the ends together because I knew it was going to go on the inside. No problem. You can do Kitchener stitch. You can do a 3-needle bind off. 3-needle bind off creates a ridge. Kitchener stitch doesn't. It looks like a knit row. Anyway, the Foolish Nude is a cowl like that. I'll keep holding this up so you can see it. And so I just knitted until I had about 12 inches. I did this on a US 6 with worsted. So this white yarn is a worsted weight, just like undyed Peruvian Highland wool, non-superwash from Wool 2 Dye 4. I'll link that in the show notes. This orange and red is the hand spun that I showed you last week. It's really uneven. This was an uneven yarn, but since I have gotten much more even, much more consistent, at least like less giant blips, like which you can kind of see in random places. It kind of came out to like DK worsted, although some parts were quite bulky, but it looks fine. Colorwork is a good way to use like kind of uneven hand spun or art yarn. So just because, who cares? I was gonna hold this red as the foreground color anyway, so I did, and it looks great. I'm really pleased with how it came out, and I'm gonna block it, and I think it's gonna look even better. So I was really excited about how it came out. And I would, you know, it was just so, it was a really like amazing experience to knit with my own handspun for the first time, because I don't know, who was it? Andrea Mowry was quoting somebody else, Jillian Moreno maybe, who said, you know, there's just this kind of energy to handspun yarn that commercial yarn doesn't have. And I'm not sure if that's because, you know, again, I have knit with my friend Sarah's handspun too. And yeah, I agree. Like, I don't know if it's like, you know, you have this like more human connection to it. But it, you know, knowing it's handspun, I don't know, like thinking about that, you're thinking about that the whole time, even if it's just in the back of your head. It is really special. So even though this was not a super consistent yarn, it was really special to knit with my own handspun for the first time. And I am super excited and pleased about it. So in terms of the next projects on the needles with my handspun, okay, so the first thing I tried to do after this was, if you followed my journey of this on Instagram, I was spinning last weekend, so the weekend before Rhinebeck, I was spinning this massive skein of yarn that was like 200 grams of fiber. I don't know how many yards it is, because I got a niddy noddy at Rhinebeck that's like a proper one, but like 2-yard niddy noddy, but I didn't like reskein this and find out how much it weighed. So I started knitting the Inclinations Cowl by Andrea Mowry, which I really enjoyed knitting. The Half Fisherman's Rib was nice, although I will say my handspun is knit out of, or is made from yarn that's like grittier than merino, like a little more rustic, so like Cheviot. And there's some Corriedale in there. You know, there was just a lot of like, there was a little bit of BFL, but for the most part it was kind of like workhorsey types of yarns that I just had dyed in pieces and barber pulled together. One thing that I will say that I learned from this is that, because I was knitting with all this yarn, is that I was trying to kind of mimic like the spin cycle along color changes. I thought that was great. You need to make the color change. I needed to make the color changes a lot shorter than I thought, because if I was making 200 grams of yarn, I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, I'm done sneezing. You know, making 200 grams of yarn, that's way more than a skein of spin cycle. That's for each, you know, spin cycle is 50 grams. So 200 grams is that's 4 skeins of dyed in the wool, or 4 skeins of dream state, whatever weight you're knitting or spinning it up at. So the color changes need to be shorter, which is something that I've learned. But so I started the Inclinations Cowl. It was nice, but yeah, I think it was too thick. It was just like dyed in the wool is so much thinner, and it was too thick, and it was just going to be massive, and I don't think I was going to have enough yarn. And so I'll put a picture of it here, because I took a few pictures, but this is what it looked like when I took a picture of it before Rhinebeck. Yeah, I finished the first 2 sections, and I was like, this is just ginormous. Like, I need to wait until I have a handspun that's not this thick, and ideally made out of something slightly softer. No problem. So I'm just gonna wait on that. I really enjoyed the Half Fisherman's Rib though, and I thought that was a really nice texture for the handspun. I'm also thinking about learning brioche this winter to kind of use my handspun that way, because it looks really cool when you use it with like white or a black or like gray or something, like a solid color plus the handspun, like the Attune shawl that Andrea Mowry designed. I'm on an Andrea Mowry kick right now because she has so many patterns for spin cycle that I want to knit with my handspun. I also met her at Wool and Folk, and she was super nice, and we talked about spinning wheels for like 5 or 10 minutes, and she gave me some really good advice. I was like, yeah, my back really hurts. She was like, put a pillow behind your back, it's great. Like, and she told me about the different wheels she has and like why she really likes them. And she said, you know, if you're gonna start woolen spinning with roll legs or something, you should get the, you know, Saxony style, because it's just easier on your back, like turning and like doing this long draw. And she was just like so friendly, and I, you know, she really did help kind of inspire this sort of new thing that I've decided to do with the spinning. And I'm just like super grateful for her like encouraging kind of videos and attitude. And if you've never watched her channel, she puts up a video every Friday where she just answers questions. Like, she has a form and people can ask her questions and she'll answer them. And that's it. That's the show. And it's so helpful. Like, there's just questions people ask you would never think of. Like, you know, I think of myself as a really good knitter, and I'm like, there are tons of things I don't know. Like, you can never, if you decide that you know everything, you're not going to grow. And that's, you know, that's why I'm branching out into spinning, because I've really enjoyed kind of these last, you know, 5 or 6 years of just like learning so many new things about knitting. And it's not that I don't learn new things, because I always strive to learn new things with knitting, and to work towards getting better at things that I know that I need to work on. But, you know, it's not the same kind of brain challenge as like a completely new thing like spinning, which is really related to something that I love. So it makes me passionate and want to practice. And I love practicing. Like, so I always tell my students, like, it's like the most commonly used phrase in my life. It's like I always tell my students, and I say it to all my friends when I'm like about to give them advice, like unsolicited advice, because my job is an advisor. So like, if anyone has like an issue, obviously my first instinct is just to try to solve it, or like give them some at least advice. I always say, at work, our mantra is, we advise, you decide. And so, especially when I like talk to Jordan about stuff, I'm like, you know, it sounds like I'm being heavy-handed with this advice, but like, you know, we have conversations where she's trying to like figure something out, you know, in her mind, how she feels about something or whatever it is. And so we talk about it, and I'm asking her probing, you know, questions about like, you need to come to terms with this. Like, you know, how does this feel or whatever? And why do you feel that way? Like we come to and it helps her just realize like what's the underlying, you know, cause of stuff. And I guess that's what therapists do. I'm not a therapist. I'm kind of like an academic therapist, but it is definitely like, you know, if someone has an issue they want solved, like, I'm going to try and help them solve it. So, that's just who I am. But anyway, back to this spinning stuff. So the growth mindset, and I ended up saying, it's what I always tell my students. Oh, grit, passion, and perseverance. So if you're going to be good at something, you have to be gritty, which means you have to be passionate about something, and you have to be, you have to persevere. You have to actually practice, and you have to do like deliberate practice and focused practice, and both diffuse and focused thinking and that kind of thing. There's a lot of things that go into learning a new skill. A lot of time, a lot of, you know, sitting down and doing the motions of something a lot. So it helps if you just like something better. Like for my job, I have to believe, it's my job to believe that anybody can learn anything. And I do believe that because I'm a success coach essentially. So I have to believe that, and I do. I just also believe that some people are better suited to certain things because they actually like them. And that's the only difference. And there's people genuinely like lots of things. So I don't think there's one career path for everyone. I don't think there's one, you know, thing out there for everyone like that you're trying to find. No, it's about discovering things about yourself to give yourself the most fulfilling life you can. So like, I know that I like to give advice to people, and so I am an academic advisor. Like, I really like that job. And especially like doing success coaching, because every student has different problems, and it's a puzzle. Every student who comes in is a puzzle that you have to kind of help them figure out like what is their issue with whatever's going on, and how do we kind of work towards that. And oftentimes there's kind of tropes of issues. So I have, you know, things that I explain, like how to read textbooks more effectively, and where to get help for chemistry if you're struggling. Like, where do you go to get that help, and who do you ask, and how do you ask a question, and, you know, what do you need to do before you go and ask for help, and things like that. So anyway, that's a digression, but I feel like I have practiced a lot, spinning a lot over the past few weeks, because I've really enjoyed it, and because that's the passion part. And so the perseverance is that, you know, you practice as much as you can because you genuinely like it. But I'm practicing a lot. I'm trying to do focus practice where I try different skills, and now I have 2 different wheels, and I try different techniques, and I try to spin thinner, or I try to spin thicker, like, you know, having that focused mindset, or try to do one type of draw, because I've been doing a lot of just like default spinning to see what my defaults are. And I've noticed that with certain fibers, I do a forward draw where you're here and your drafting hands. guide the yarn with my left hand and I hold the fiber in my right. So draft, I guess I draft with my left hand and I hold with my right hand, which is how I knit. Because continental knitters, I'm continental in that I hold my yarn in the left hand. You know, I draft with my left hand. So what was I saying about that? Oh, forward draw, right? So you hold the fibers, I hold the fibers here. You keep your thumb on the spot where you want the fiber to come from, the fiber supply, and then you draw with this hand. That's a forward draw or draft. A backward draft is when this hand is holding this because it's controlling the twist still, and you need to keep it here, and when you do this, then you pull your hand back, and then, so backward draw is this hand is pulling back. It's drawing the fibers back, and then the drafting hand comes down and guides the twist, and then it comes back. You come back up together, and then back, twist, like there's, you know, this kind of motion, this pull back, twist back, forward, pull back, twist back, right? So there's different kinds of motions. So I've noticed that my draft tends to change even in the middle, but oftentimes depending on the fiber that I'm using. And the reason it changes in the middle of skeins is because, like in this one, this is just two completely random things that I'm trying to apply together, like random stuffs to see. Well, I'm trying to keep it sort of in the same families, but there's a lot of like random kind of blues, greens. There's a lot that you can't see under here, obviously. These are both, this one looks like it's a lot bigger. I gotta weigh them again because I might need to do more on this bobbin. Yeah, but who knows? So yeah, there's, these are just two bobbins. I'm trying to spin for like a colorwork spin cycle type of yarn for a yoke sweater, the Sparky by Andrea Mowry. Again, knitting a lot of her stuff. And to go back to brioche, she's got a lot of really nice patterns for brioche. And I think I'm gonna try and work out how I can do brioche with the knitting through the back loops. And if I can't, I'm just gonna knit through the front loops because I know how to do that. It's just like not my default knitting. But you can teach yourself anything. So that would be another journey for knitting, is teaching myself how to knit comfortably regular continental style with the loops twisted forward so that I can do more techniques. So anyway, back to the inclinations cowl with that spin that I did last weekend, big 200-gram spin. I ripped the cowl out and I decided to make the shifty because I didn't know if I had enough fiber. The shifty is a sweater by Andrea Mowry, brought to you by Andrea Mowry's Patterns. So I started it last night and it's kind of a teal. I mean, you'll see the photo because I've at this point hopefully put that photo up in somewhere over there. And it's kind of teal and purple. And it changes, there's some greens, there's some darker teals. This is hard to see because the light's not natural. But the shifty is this mosaic colorwork sweater that has these little blips. So there's the small blips and the big blips. And it's just a circular yoke. She has just redone it. I don't know what's different about the old version, maybe somebody knows. But I'm just using the hand spun, which I have a ball of it here. This is the smaller ball. There's another bigger ball somewhere that's not here. It's in the living room somewhere. And I didn't make this initially because I didn't think I had enough of this yarn to be like the background or the foreground color. But this white's just wool of the Andes. No, it's not wool of the Andes. It's like wool of the Andes sport. It's just Peruvian Highland wool sport. It's the same as this white, but it's sport weight instead of worsted weight. I got it at Wool to Die For. That's a thing. Here's the other skein stuff. So I was like kind of hesitant to make it because I didn't know if I had enough, but then I spun a couple of other skeins, again trying to spin for the Sparky and then saying I don't want to do this for the Sparky. This isn't right. The color changes are too long. So I have two other skeins. This one kind of goes similar. It's purple and teal. It's just a little bit lighter. So I'll have a little fade moment going on if I end up using this. Again, hard to see. There's some cobalt in there. Yeah, there's just a lot of kind of greenish teal, some purple. And then I have an even lighter one here, which is, there's some lighter purples, still some greens. And this should get me, with the bigger skein plus this one plus these two, this should get me the end of the shifty, no problem. That's kind of easier to see that way. Back here. Yeah, Anyway. So that's my project. And I really I get addicted to spinning and I can't stop. But then I do go back to I really like knitting with the hand spun. So I do tend to go back to it often. So this guy, the gauge for the shifty is 26 over 4 inches or something, 26 stitches. I knew this yarn was a little too thick, this yarn. So I just swatched with, I also usually knit tightly, and I didn't have the recommended needles are US 4, so I usually go down a size. And my 3s are in the Maddie sweater or something that I'm knitting. I don't even know where it's, somewhere upstairs. And so I was like, okay, but this yarn's thicker anyway. So I said, what if I swatch on a US 4, which is the recommended needle size, and it's gonna be bigger. It's gonna be fewer stitches over 4 inches somewhere. So what happened, then I'm just do the math on the stitches around the body, which I know that I want to get as close to 36 as possible to have a 0 inch or 0 ease sweater. And it says in the shifty, the testers tried this with different types of ease, and overwhelmingly people liked as little ease as possible, negative or positive, or just a tiny bit of positive. So I wanted to get to 36. My gauge when I swatched in the round, but it's not always feel like I need to be checking my gauge, often for this. It was about 22. So that was perfect for me to knit the smallest size, which is a 30-inch bust, to end up with a 36-inch bust. I did the math. I just need to make sure that my gauge stays there. And so the nice thing about this is that it's a circular yoke. So that means that basically I can just knit a little bit more, do some more increases if my gauge is a little smaller. As long as it's a multiple of 4, this is not gonna matter. So it's a good way to kind of experiment with my hand spun gauge. I'm pleased about that. Yeah, it's got little short rows in the back that you kind of do with color work, which is kind of cool. It's a little bit more, this is a stranded bit. The rest of it's mosaic, but this short rows, of course I didn't 100% read the pattern carefully, and I didn't do as many short rows as I was supposed to, and then the increases got off, but I don't care. I don't care. It's still gonna fit. That's the nice thing. Circular yokes are forgiving. And I was really inspired by Maggie, who had her handspun shifty on Friday, a woolen folk, and I was like, I gotta do that. That looks great. So thank you, Maggie, for inspiring that, if you're watching. And it was just a spectacular sweater. And I was like, it looks so fun. And I've wanted to make shifty for ages. And I have a bunch of yarns that I just kind of have that I've been oh, I could use this, I could use this, I could use that. So we'll see. Now I'm doing it. Maybe I'll make 10 of them for a bunch of people because it's so fun. So that's going on right now, and I'm super thrilled about this knitting project. And what else do we have? I showed you these bobbins, the crazy bobbins. I'll show you the yarn next week. Again, I'm trying not to make this all about spinning. Right now I'm just knitting with the hand spun. So you're seeing that knitting. You don't have to knit with hand spun. You can knit with spin cycle. Or I'm gonna put a list in the show notes of yarns that mimic hand spun. So off the top of my head, I can tell you there's Spin Cycle, the most famous one, also the most expensive one. Yarn Hero, which is in Frederick. If you're in the area, come to Frederick Fiberfest this Saturday. They will be there. They're always there. And they have mill ends, which are just smaller skeins than the large skeins. And they're sold by the gram, and they're awesome. You can get Feederbrook, which is also really local to here. It's 20 minutes north of me. Feederbrook Farm. Feederbrook Farm. Yeah, and they sell it at stores around here. Beautiful barberpole yarns. And then if you shop at the Woolly Thistle, you can get Junction Fiber Mill, which is Junction Fiber Mill, I think, is in White River Junction, Vermont, which is where I'm from. Not White River, but I'm from Vermont. And the Woolly Thistle's just over the Connecticut River in Lebanon, West Lebanon, New Hampshire. So they have partnered with them to make this beautiful, or to get this beautiful Junction Fiber Mill yarn. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. It's so nice. So that's really beautiful. And yeah, you can get barberpole yarns in a variety of weights if you want to knit these patterns and you don't spin. So if you do spin, I value all of your advice. So you can email me if you think I'm talking about something and it's crazy and you don't want to put it in a comment. You can email me. I would love that. You can comment. I would love to know what wheel you have, because I have this matchless now and I'm still using Gertrude. The matchless is named Thelma. That was inspired by Grady, also from the Woolly Thistle. We were at Rhinebeck this weekend and she was like, this is what you should name it. And I was like, that's a good name. I like to outsource naming to other people. So Thelma, the matchless, I love her, but it's not portable. It's single treadle. I would still like to have a double treadle wheel just to see what the difference is, just to have a different spinning experience. And I'm thinking about this. I'm not going to get this now. I've literally started spinning like 2.5 weeks ago, so I'm not going to get this now. But I was thinking about getting an Ashford Kiwi, because I know you can get the Joy too, which I think folds up. It's smaller. They both fold up and they both can go in a bag. The Kiwi's bigger, but it's like 12 pounds. The treadles fold up. So it goes like this. There's a really nice bag you can get for it. You can travel with it. I don't have an Ashford. The Kiwi just does Scotch tension, but it has 2 pedals as a double treadle. So I think I would like to try that and see. What I probably should do is find someone who has an Ashford Kiwi and try it out to see if I like it. Plus the Kiwi is inexpensive. You can get it unfinished, and I would love to finish it myself, or like to do that project, you know, like with my friends here who, you know, that would be really cool. So yeah, I'm thinking about getting that. So if you have an Ashford, let me know how you like it. And I would love to know your opinions about wheels generally. I know a lot of people like the Lendrum, and I know the Lendrum is also not super expensive, and if the Lendrum folds up, I would love to know that. If you have a type of Lendrum that folds up, that would be cool to know. Or if you've spun on a lot of wheels, what you think about different stuff, that would be really good. I would love that. But yeah, now I'm going to show you some fiber that I got at Rhinebeck. So if you don't want to talk about fiber and spinning, there's great colors ahead. So please watch if you like color. But if you don't want to talk or hear about that, you can just sign off. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. But here we go. So I got a bunch of these like this size 2-ounce things from this one. Again, I don't know any of the names of these places. Oh, hang on, this has got a card in here, so I'll tell you after I fish the bottom one out. So I got a bunch of 2-ounce balls of these beautiful, they're varied, they're like rainbow, and again, the card's in there and it says like what types of yarn these are. So there's one here, here's one, and I just got like some basically cool dyed, this is definitely rainbow dyed, just roving here for, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might just kind of like pull the different colors out and try to make some kind of like rainbow gradient yarn. There's another one that's not here. It's somewhere in the living room because I was using it. Here's one. This is kind of a gold and yellow and slightly burnt orange. There's this tag. There's 2 tags here. This one is BFL, but this was a good deal. It was like $2.50 an ounce, or $2.50 an ounce. So I got 10 ounces of this in just various colors, and it was like $25. Good deal for a dyed top for sure. It's from Spinner's Hill. So there you go. Lisa Ann Marion in New York. Bainbridge, New York. This is whatever this was BFL. Hand-dyed carded wool bats. Spinnershill.com. You can probably get it online. This is a Cheviot braid that was from someone else, and I will find out what their name is because I know I have more braids from them that still have the tags. And I just thought this was fun. This is like $10. There was like a closeout on whatever this was. Basically, I just like looked for good deals, and there were a lot of good deals at Rhinebeck. Like you can get fiber that's expensive there, but I was like, I could also get fiber that's not expensive here. So I'm just gonna get that. This is a big bag of wool that I got from the Feederbrook people. This is all BFL, and it was just like one big contiguous thing, but I just separated it out into the different rainbow colors. It's kind of like a murky rainbow. It's all BFL. It's super, this is what I'm spinning on the old wheel, the Gertrude, because Monica's wheel, because it's, it needs a really, really low tension because it's so thin and draftable. It's like already drafted, so it just needs a very light touch. This is just a bat that I got at Woolen Folk called Fawn Yerby, Yeti Yarns and Dry Goods.etsy.com. Drum carded hand-dyed wool art bat for spinning or felting. Wool, tinsel, mohair, merino, silk, and fabric. All sorts of stuff in here. All sorts. You can see that tinsel a little bit if you look closely here. It's shiny. Cool. So that's all the colored yarn I got, the colored top. There's one more kind of super neon BFL that I got 4 ounces of at Woolen Folk, but that's in the living room because I was in the middle of spinning it. So, okay, I'm just gonna grab some yarn out of this. This is my undyed yarn bag. I'm not gonna lift it up because it's too big, but there's a few things. This was just like the first thing I ever got. It's just some undyed ribbon. So I'm just gonna get rid of these. This is a Corriedale and this is Cheviot. These I got a pound each of from Blue Moon Alpacas, not at Rhinebeck. I just ordered it. Blue Moon Fibers is on Etsy and it's very good deals on pounds of fiber. And you can also get tops that are dyed. But yeah. Okay, so half a pound of Swaledale. This is from the Sheep Shed and Mountain View Farm. These were inexpensive. So I'm gonna try and like find, I can try and link these. This is from Zeilinger Wool Co. This is BFL, white BFL. Very squishy, very squishy. This actually feels like Rambouillet to me. I don't know why. If someone knows why BFL feels like Rambouillet, you can write that in the comments. This is a giant thing of Romney, which is my favorite thing to spin so far. This is just like, it's like pencil roving. It's like, again, also like drafts itself. So this is kind of stickier than BFL though. So this, I'm not sure if I'm gonna have to spin this on the old wheel or if I'll be able to, the new one will be able to handle it. Don't know. But I think I'm gonna try and spin that all like together. I'm dyeing pieces of this and I'm gonna try and spin it together just to keep it all, because it's all delicate. I think it needs to be spun on the same wheel with the same tension. This is Black Welsh Mountain, also from the Sheep Shed. This is a nice half pound of that. They came in giant half pound things. Got one more of those. Nope, not this one. This one's Icelandic, also from Zeilinger. This is a 4 ounce braid. Haven't spun Icelandic before, but I did card some Icelandic with Sarah when we did roll eggs once, a couple months ago, and I carded some of the Icelandic into a roll egg, which was super cool. And this one is also Swaledale. This was a braid. Okay, this is where I got the Cheviot, this braid. It's called Spin Away Farm, and it's Swaledale, 4 ounces. And they had like $10 braids for $10 4 ounce braids. This is also from Spin Away Farm. This is Finn. This is soft, softer than Swaledale. Finn sheep. Got some VM, which was always a good time. This is Scotland, also from the Sheep Shed. Yeah, this is seems similar to Icelandic, which doesn't surprise me based on the parts of the world that the Gotland and Icelandic sheep come from. It's just kind of naturally a darker color. Here it is up close if you want to see it. If you love spinning a certain type of fiber, let me know. I would love to hear that in the comments. This is Shetland Cotswold, just a bag. I think I touched it, but yeah. This is quite, I wouldn't call it soft. It's kind of like hairy. I didn't get any Shetland. I did get a sample of Shetland, like a little tiny thing of Shetland, half an ounce or something, when I ordered from Blue Moon Alpacas. This is New Zealand Border Leicester. Sorry, New Zealand Border Leicester, if you didn't hear that. And this is very, yeah. Maybe I'll spin something for Catherine with this because she's from New Zealand. My friend Catherine, my English host mom, Catherine, is from New Zealand. So maybe I'll spin something. I'd have to dye it green because she loves green. It's 8 ounces. So that was a good deal. It was like 14 bucks. Okay, so that's my haul from Rhinebeck. You can sort of see in the corner here, there's like things, but this table is literally surrounded by yarn. So that's fun. Or wool, it's not yarn yet. It will be someday. But it should keep me going for a while, I think. Pretty, especially if I have to knit all of it. it's gonna take me a minute. So yeah, next time maybe I'll do a dyeing tutorial. I've been using my stove, my griddle, but it is, the pans were leaking. They're like aluminum pans, so because they only have basically a few rounds in them each. So I'm just gonna get an actual metal one that's like reusable. Like right now I'm just dyeing on the stovetop, because you can dye fiber on the stovetop, no problem. And it's way faster because the stove heats up faster, and you can put a lid on the pot and stuff like that. So, and it's just, to me, it's like I can just use less danger of like touching hot stuff, because I'm you know, you can use a oven mitt to like take the lid on and off and stuff like that. So no problem. Dyeing burgundy this morning on the stove, like a Cabernet color. It's really beautiful, of a bunch of fibers. Got Romney, we got the gray Corriedale, and we got the white Cheviot in there. So that should be fun. And yeah, so maybe next week we'll do a little dyeing tutorial. I'll tell you what you need. You can tell you where to get it, all that stuff. I'll show you how to do it. This is the last yarn I dyed. This was for Hannah. Hannah and I dyed this together. Hannah's making this sweater. She's making this sweater, and she had some mohair that she got from Webb's, which is, I will link, I think it's the Southampton mohair. And she got this, we dyed it, it's kind of this color, it's like a slate, kind of grayish blue. So she got that, and we dyed this to go with it. So she's gonna wind that up soon and start. It's gonna be her next sweater, and she's working on like a little woolen mohair striped long sleeve right now. It's super cute. So that's exciting. Dyed some yarn for Ivy to make the Paloma, and that's gotta get shipped out because some of that yarn got tangled in the pot, and I needed to untangle. Knit and untangled a bunch of it for me. There's still like half a skein I have to untangle later, and I'll send it to her. So everyone's knitting with fun hand-dyed yarn. Yeah, so if you have fun suggestions, some folks have put in, last week I was like, tell me your color suggestions for handspun, and some people did that, and I was very grateful. So if you have cool advice or ideas about blending colors or dyeing natural colors that aren't white, I'd love to hear your comments or your advice or your anything you want to tell me about spinning, even if you don't spin. Ask me questions, give me advice, all of the above. Again, I don't want to make this channel just about spinning, because I am still knitting and I still have a lot of yarn. What I told my mom about it when I was like telling her I was spinning was like, look, I would like to, I don't want to make this take over, because obviously I still have a lot of yarn. So what I'd really like to do is to try and use my stash with my handspun. So to be intentional about the handspun and make yarn to go with like yarn I already have, and have it go together in stripes or color work or, you know, whatever, brioche, that kind of thing, and to do, you know, play with things that way. I think it would just be really fun. So yeah, I'm gonna be making the Sparky sweater by Andrea Mowry, be my next handspun sweater, with, again, a yarn I already have. So like the De Rerum Natura at Ulysse, with these two bobbins, the two crazy bobbins that are now hidden under literal piles of fiber that I show you. So that's what's going on, and that's awesome. I'm really excited about it. So that will be a fun thing to follow, hopefully, for you all. Yeah, so I'll be showing what I'm knitting with it, and what I'm also just like knitting. Like there will be other things that I knit, you know, knitting. What I really need to do is tear out that reindeer sweater and do it again for Ian, because he finally sent me his measurements. Ian's my brother. So yeah, I thank you all. If you saw me at Rhinebeck and you said hi, thank you so much. It was so exciting to meet so many of you. It was just like made me so happy. If you met me through the Woolly Thistle, or if you met me just like, if you saw me and you yelled my name, I was just so excited to meet people in person. What a lovely community. And you know, next year, have lots of plans already for next year's Rhinebeck to make it go a little smoother, just in terms of me driving less. And you know, getting to spend that time having more fun with my peeps from the Woolly Thistle and all that. So yeah, it was a very joyful weekend, and I'm so glad I got to be part of it. in the way that I was part of it, even though it was exhausting and the food lines are really long. Next year, I'm bringing a sandwich. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe below if you want to be notified of new videos. You can ring the bell down there. All of the show notes, if I said it's in the show notes, are in the description box. If you just go down below the video, like where it says like date and number of views and all that stuff, it'll say see more. You click see more, and it pops down below the big description box. Yeah, ask me questions, send me an email to barnabyknits@gmail.com if you have like a longer advice or whatever. I would love that if you're a spinner. I'm super excited about this journey. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye.